I'm Blake X, and this is another Nuclear Reaction. What's up, survivors? So this time, I'm getting back to the infinite list with another request. Another one that's been sitting there for a while, so it's time for me to dust it off and finally check it out. This is Blind Guardian, Curse of Feanor, requested by Kellendros. Now, a few things I want to say before we get started. One, it's been forever since I've actually listened to Blind Guardian, unfortunately. As it happens, they're one of my favorite power metal bands, just based on the handful of songs I've heard so far. And also, by the title alone, I know this is a Middle-earth-themed song based on the Silmarillion, the Curse of Feanor. So I decided, very appropriately, I think, to wear a fantasy-based hat. Although I need to get a Blind Guardian hat. I'm trying to kind of like really fill out my hat collection with a lot of metal hats, a lot of different kind of baseball caps, you know. But yeah, anyway, I will get into the lyrics after the reaction itself, which for those who don't know, for those who are new to the channel, is very much a part of what I do here. I do a full deep dive lyrical analysis, get into the song's meaning, give my own perspective, and so if you're wondering why my videos are longer than some other reaction channels, that's why. It's a full immersive experience. Also, if you want to make a request, the normal way to do that is to leave a comment, and if I catch it, I'll put it on the infinite list, and if it's on the list, I will get to it eventually. And note, by the way, that because of the sheer volume of comments that I get on some videos nowadays, I don't have time to catch everything, and so if you really, really want something reacted to, feel free to hassle me with comments on a bunch of my videos. I don't mind that at all. In fact, some people who have done that, that's exactly why it ended up getting on the list, because I finally noticed it. But if you really, really, really want your request reacted to, one alternative that you can consider is joining patreon.com/nuclearreactions, jumping on tier 4, the $80 tier, and you could basically make one request each month that you're on there and get it bumped up ahead of the line so that it gets a guaranteed reaction right away. So that's a cool little life hack to kind of circumvent the infinite list if you're interested. It'll be linked in the description below. Also in the description you'll find the links to the merch store, Yellow Nuclear Shop, the second brand new merch store, Death Rich Clothing, and the Facebook group, The Mushroom Cloud. All these things are great ways to show your love and support for the channel and to enhance your experience as part of the Nuclear family. Okay, so one thing that immediately grabs my interest is the Tolkien-inspired song name. I definitely love the fantasy element to power metal, man. But for now, let's check out the music and see how this one goes. Now, there are two versions of this. There's a remaster that came out in 2007, and I believe this is an original version. I think that Kellendros would prefer that I react to the original, so that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to check this out, then I'll do the lyrical breakdown after the music, and let's get into it, man. Curse of Feanor, let's jump in 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go, man. Fucking Hansi. It's been too long since I've reacted to this band, man. No regret, no regret. Don't feel the eyes of the dark eye. Mom, got my pride. All hope is gone, but I swear even. Okay, so what I like about Hansi's vocals, especially in Blind Guardian, is that not only are his vocals high-pitched in a really soaring, I don't want to say typical, but in a soaring kind of way that you would come to expect from power metal as a genre, but in addition to that, he's able to have a certain ferocity and growl to his singing, despite the fact that it's obviously not harsh vocals, but he has his own way of putting, for lack of a better word, power into his voice. And it's really showing off here. It's really shining in this song so far. So I'm really liking that. The vocals are the best thing about this song so far. But I also really like the galloping tempo to this song as it started out. And yeah, it's just all around really grabbing me right now. I'm really digging it so far. So let's get back into it. I really like the drumming on this one. He is up there with my favorite vocalists, for sure. Fucking drumming on this. I love the way he's delivering the vocals in this. It's really good. The way Hansi sings his vocals in Blind Guardian, they're just so memorable. Like, just the sheer cadence to it, it really sticks in your head, and that's very much the case for this song. So I still like the vocals as my number one thing about this song. But then again, I always tend to focus on vocals the most. I think if I ever were in a band, and I kind of was when I was younger, but not for really long, we didn't record anything. Anyway, if I ever decided to take that seriously and pursue that in the future, I would definitely, do vocals, or try to at least. But yeah, that's my favorite thing about the song so far. And I also really like the drumming. The drumming is like insanely good in this one. So yeah, those are the two biggest takeaways for me so far. But I'm really enjoying this song on the whole. It's really captivating. It really has an exciting energy to it. And, despite being power metal, I feel like power metal has a kind of false reputation as being not heavy. And, this kind of really breaks that stereotype, because there is a definitive heaviness to this one that is really, really noticeable early on. So this is a really solid song so far. Let's see where it goes from here. Let's finish it up. That drumming is on point. I really dig this part right here. Okay, that was seriously good. Curse of Feanor by Blind Guardian. Yeah, musically that That is a perfect kind of energy right there. And Blind Guardian, man, like they're my favorite power metal band so far. I think I would say them along with Frozen Crown and Iced Earth. And, I got to do new reactions to all of these bands, Like I said, it's been a while since I've reacted to this band, and, I'm glad I finally have the chance to get back to them. So much good music, so little time, really. But yeah, this was so good. You can never go wrong with these vocals. The drumming was excellent. The guitar, I also got to give appreciation to that. I really like the guitar in this one. Maybe not on the level of some other Blind Guardian songs I've reacted to in the past, but it was still damn good. So yeah, this was perfect. And you know what? This was like almost 6 minutes long, 5 minutes and 41 seconds, and it did not feel like that at all. Which shows that I was really getting into it and really just getting fully absorbed into the music and enjoying it. So this is a reminder, man, that I got to listen to and react to more power metal in the future. And I know some of you guys want that because back on my last Blind Guardian reaction, I got a bunch of comments asking for more. So let me know in the comments on this one if you want me to check out more power metal very soon. I'll try my best. And there are a few more power metal requests on the Infinite list as well. So I'm bound to be checking out more as quickly as I can. So we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. But yeah, musically, I thought this was really solid. Nothing to complain about at all. It felt shorter than it was. It was very powerful, very heavy. And the vocals were excellent. But the drumming especially, for whatever reason, I'm picking up more and more and more on the drumming as I do these reactions. I'm really getting an ear for it. And so maybe it's partly that, but I really think that the drumming is well done in the song. Of course, I'm not a musician. I don't have that kind of expertise. This is just my opinion as a first-time listener, but I really like that. I think that was one of the strongest elements in this song and really gave a lot of oomph and a lot of power to this song. And really, I think it was the strongest factor in the song that contributed to its sheer heaviness and probably the fast pace of it as well. So really good stuff, man. I really like this musically, and I can't wait to hear more from this band. So that's how I feel about the music, and now let's get into the lyrics. I already know this is about the Silmarillion, but let's see exactly what they're talking about here. Taken the long way, dark realms I went through, I arrived, my vision so clear in anger and pain. I left deep wounds behind, but I arrived. Truth might be changed by victory. Beyond the void, but deep within me, a swamp of filth exists. A lake it was, of crystal beauty. But Arda's spring went by, I've heard the warning. While curse my name, I'll keep on laughing, no regret. Don't fear the eyes of the Dark Lord, Morgoth I cried. All hope is gone, but I swear revenge. Hear my oath, I will take part in your damned fate. I will always remember their cries, like a shadow which covers the night. I will always remember the time, but it's past. I cannot turn back the time. I don't look back, there's still smoke near the shore, but I arrived. Revenge be mine. Soon you will be free, set your spirit free. Suddenly I realized the prophecies I've never believed in. My deeds were wrong. I've stained the land and slain my kin, burning soul. There is no release for my sins. It hurts. The curse of Feanor runs long. Time and only time will tell us, was I right or wrong? When anger breaks through, I'll leave mercy behind. So, first off, I want to point out that my memory of the Silmarillion is a bit rusty in comparison with Tolkien's other works. The most recent thing that I've reread is The Children of Húrin, and that still stands as my favorite work by Tolkien. Yes, even over The Lord of the Rings. Fight me. But yeah, I think this is basically about Feanor's campaign against Morgoth. Just essentially telling the crux of that story. And, of course, the downfall caused by excessive pride and revenge. And this also kind of gets into the thought process of the character, because you've got lines like, time and only time will tell us, was I right or was I wrong? And, I think both this work and The Children of Húrin are superior to me personally, because they deal more with moral conflict and internal conflict than The Lord of the Rings. Like, they present characters that are deeply flawed and consumed by, to put it lightly, less than noble traits and desires. And in that way, for its time, it really broke certain barriers in fantasy literature. And, to this day, I don't think it gets nearly enough credit. Of course, we got the Silmarillion and the Children of Húrin published after Tolkien died. And maybe that, among other reasons, was why these works didn't get published during his lifetime, There was this idea back then that characters were supposed to be really heroic and valiant all the time. And so the character of Feanor, I'm not sure would have appealed so much to people in those years. So, what's interesting, though, is that I read this book, The Road to Middle-earth, which basically broke down some of the concepts behind Tolkien's works, including the characterizations. And Feanor and the creation of the Silmarils was supposedly a reflection of Tolkien's own ambitions as a creator. And, more than that, was an example of him using his own experience as a writer to design a character that served as, I guess the best way to put it is, a character who served as a cautionary tale for him as much as for others, about what happens when your works become solely a product of the ego and stop coming from a purely honorable place in your heart. So, just like Tolkien wanted to put some of himself into his books, Feanor wanted to make something which would forever represent and glorify his own personality. And I think, they say that as an author, you should try and avoid putting yourself into your own novel as a character. But I think it can work. I think you could pull it off if you put traits of yourself into a character. And I'll put it this way. If you could put bad or less than ideal traits of yourself into a character as a way not only to process those traits that you have and to kind of resolve things that are unresolved in your mind or in your heart, but also to make a flawed character. Because I think the best way that you can introduce flaws into a character in a book that you write is by pulling from your own experiences. So I kind of think that's what Tolkien did with some of these characters. And of course, when it comes to Feanor, when it comes to the Silmarillion period, there's also the inevitable biblical allegory, right? Whether fully intentional or not. And I think this song was very much aware of that and taps into it, because you've got lines here that say, where was it? My deeds were wrong, I've stained the land and slain my kin. That right there calls up some pretty vivid Cain and Abel imagery. And then, there is no release from my sin, it hurts, the curse of Feanor runs long. So again, we come back to the sin of pride. Now, I personally don't view pride as a bad thing. I actually think it's extremely empowering, as long as it's tempered by a certain kindness and a certain logic. And I think that things can go very wrong when you feed only your ego and never your heart. So I think there's definitely a balance to everything. However, you've got to remember that Tolkien was a Catholic. It was partly him who even caused fellow fantasy writer C.S. Lewis to turn from atheism to Christianity. So despite the strong pagan associations with the stories of Middle-earth, and those are, of course, by no means unfounded, there were strong, deliberate connections there. I'm just saying, though, that despite that, there are also strong Christian elements interwoven throughout these works, and probably most noticeable in the Silmarillion. And, of course, I'm not a Christian, I'm just pointing that out. And I don't think Blind Guardian were deliberately trying to make a religious statement with this song, in so much as they were trying to capture and exemplify the allegory behind the story itself in the lyrics. And I think they did a pretty good job of it, And I say this time and again, but it's always cool to check out a song that isn't preaching something, even a song that isn't delivering some kind of social message or pondering some kind of existential dilemma, I recently listened to a song. It's a pretty recent song. I won't name it because I don't want to start drama or get unwarranted hate in the comments or whatever, but I recently listened to a pretty new song that just dropped, and to me it was very much about preaching and virtue signaling and just one of the many things that I think music, no matter what genre, is suffering from today. And I think it was done in a way that really inhibited the actual art of the music. And so for that reason, I think you need music like this. I think now more than ever, songs like this are very important. Songs that just tell a story, and that's very much what this song is doing, And what I love about power metal is that it can just tell a narrative, whether mythological, folklore-based, fantasy-based, history-based, whatever the case may be. And this is quite literally just telling a partial snippet of Feanor's struggle against Morgoth. And ultimately, if you truly get to the core of who the character is, his struggle against himself in the end. And the messages and the allegories wrapped up in that narrative are pretty nicely represented in the writing here. So I like it, man. This was pretty cool. It's nothing super complex, but it's a song that actually inspires me to get back to reading, some good fantasy. Because I honestly, I'm looking at my bookcase over there. I haven't had time to, sit down and read a book for several weeks now, Usually what I like to do at night, when I'm not listening to music, when it gets very late, is I just like to, sit down, have some peace and quiet, grab a fantasy book that I haven't read in a long time, and just start reading, And it's been too long since I've done that, so this song is definitely a reminder to get back to that. And by the way, I definitely want to reread the Silmarillion. The last time I did so was in 2016, so I'm long overdue. But yeah, Tolkien's works continue to live on in metal, and probably always will, man. It's especially cool to hear power metal songs, though, that are Tolkien themed, you know? And it's been a while since I've reacted to power metal, so, you know, look, I've been slacking. Once again, Blind Guardian, I think, are my favorite power metal band so far. Some other ones are Frozen Crown and Iced Earth. And, you know, let me know if you guys want me to check out more songs by them in the near future. But yeah, as for this one, I enjoyed the lyrics for what they were. They were nothing amazing or, like, shockingly good, but they were fun and they were based off one of my favorite works. And I would say that their quality matched that of the music. The music was really solid. It was an enjoyable song from start to finish. Hansi's vocals always impress. The drumming was great. The guitar was great. I will say that I don't quite like this Blind Guardian song on the level of some of the other ones I reacted to. It comes pretty close, but I don't like it quite as much. But it's still a really good song, and I still really want to hear a lot more from Blind Guardian. As far as this one goes in terms of rating, I am going to give it a 10 out of 12 on the Doomsday Clock. I think that's a fair rating for this one. And that's about it, man. My breakdown, my analysis. I would definitely suggest, by the way, if you're a metalhead especially, to read some fantasy, because I think there's a special relationship between metal as a genre and the fantasy genre. So, you know, it's no coincidence that so much metal takes its inspiration from Tolkien and Middle-earth. So it's definitely worth your time to sit down, pick up an old-fashioned book, and just start reading, you know. I would encourage that as much as I would encourage listening to metal. So I'm just throwing that out there. And if you think about it, books are basically dead tattooed trees, and that's pretty fucking metal. But yeah, thankfully, I'm wrapping up this video before I make any more lame jokes. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now. All it takes is one click, takes 2 seconds. Hit that bell if you want notifications. Check out patreon.com/nuclearreactions. And I've got plenty more good content on the way for you guys. Until then, much love and respect to the nuclear family, and I will catch you all on the next one.